Hello, ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities, and identities, and welcome back to another Doctor Who review. And we're back with some more Third Doctor, some more John Pertwee. Yes, we're back with some more John Pertwee. And this is a story called Carnival of Monsters. So without further ado, let's get into the story. The Doctor and Jo land in what's called a Miniscope, but they don't know they're inside of a Miniscope at first. The Doctor and Jo originally kind of come up with this kind of idea that they've landed in some barren wasteland where there's just monsters absolutely everywhere. However, when the Doctor and Jo suddenly realise that there's kind of wiring outside of the scope of where they are, they begin to realise that something is quite wrong. Elsewhere, two entertainers are trying to get the Miniscope moved out of where it is in the kind of baggage area and are trying to get off-world with it. However, when they find themselves in a bit of a dispute with the local inhabitants of the planet, the local inhabitants begin to ask about the machine, to which they explain how the machine works, and inside the Miniscope is so many different species. The Doctor eventually manages to break out of the Miniscope, trying to save his friend Jo from the inevitable doom of being caught in the loop. When the Doctor comes into contact with the two people responsible for the machine, he explains to them how this machine was outlawed due to being seen as inhumane and, most importantly, being used on people without their permission. The two performers agree to the Doctor's terms and apologise for the inconvenience of the machine. However, they point out due to the machine being unstable, the creatures are slowly but surely starting to break out, and the seismic activity is causing everything to grow larger and larger, to the point at which, if it's not stopped, it will pretty much find itself everywhere in the room. Now, the Doctor definitely agrees that this should not happen, and as the technology is outlawed and kind of out of date, he slightly lets the two performers off. The performers then fascinate and facile over the guy, believing him to be some kind of performer himself. The Doctor pulls out his sonic screwdriver, and they begin to notice that there's something in common with their technology. The Doctor is absolutely confused by their kind of association between each other, and is just pointing out that he's more worried about Jo's safety, about trying to help her escape this never-ending nightmare. Inside the machine, the Doctor finds that there's not only Dragons, I think he explains them as, there's Centaurans, Cybermen, and possibly Daleks inside of this machine. There's so many different species of life that have been shrunk down to a micro kind of measurement and essentially been trapped inside of this machine as entertainment for people who watch. There's also a ship that once went missing and is kind of trapped in a bit of a time loop. The Doctor discovers this early on when he was inside of the machine, because all the people on the ship still keep thinking they're going to America. Now, the Doctor and the two magicians come to a kind of an agreement with this other species that the machine must not be destroyed, because if they destroy the machine, they will destroy everything in turn, and also may end up accidentally destroying the TARDIS, which is the one thing the Doctor wants to get back to. Eventually, they manage to fight back against the kind of uprising that's going on, and manage to shut down the machine so it's perfectly harmless. The Doctor then also manages to get his police box out of the machine. Jo's introduced to the two magicians, and the pair go off for another adventure in time and space. So, what did I think of the Carnival of Monsters? Well, perfectly honest, I absolutely love this episode. Why? Because I love the idea of things being shrunk down and people having to see the world in a bigger light. way that the Doctor and Joe really have no kind of concept of what's happening for most of the story, I think is absolutely perfect. Not only because it gives them a new kind of angle to look at things in, but also because it gives us as the audience more information than them. So for once, as a story, it's not necessarily that the actors know exactly the full extent of what's going on, but we can feel that the story as it progresses is slowly but surely getting deeper and deeper and deeper. It also turns out in this kind of story that there's a jealousy going on between two brothers and slash this kind of hierarchy. The species that aren't very happy about the Miniscope are kind of rivaling between each other on kind of a power grab. They call Tellurians, which is human beings, anything that is considered with a short lifespan, they kind of consider it in this that we are worse than them. But in turn, to watch them squabble and become so abusive to one another in this story, I think is a beautiful irony. Not only for the circumstance of the story, but also for the circumstance of the storytelling. It's brilliant to watch people who consider themselves gods to fall from grace, and this story is no different. And for that reason, I give The Carnival of Monsters a solid 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next Doctor Who review, which will be dinosaurs. The invasion of dinosaurs. Yep, that's it. Thank you for watching, and have an incredible morning, you beautiful people.